the PAC section, we said Al submitted the assessment and anticipates a response in October or November of 2013. Should we have put, or should we add when we are going to present to the board for their approval and sign off as part of that? Just so it's a complete thought.
Well, I think following the timeline, the reply has to come back from PAC before we can do that, so it'd be hard to schedule that now.
Okay. All right. I just need a little clarity there. Thank you. Any other changes for additions or changes to the meeting minutes? Can I get a motion to support those changes?
Yes.
All right. Jane's motion. Can I get support?
Support.
Aaron? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right. Okay. Item 6 is open public comment and letters. I don't see anyone in the audience here, but I do know that we had several emails and comments sent to us recently from different folks in our viewing audience and residents of the island. I don't know, I guess so we can read these. So we have a gibikeped@gmail.com email, and we welcome all people to send us emails and comments to that site. Paul, who did not give his address, stated, I've been asked to get clarification on the number of bicycle racks recommended for the Hennepin Marsh Gateway Preserve on Meridian. We were thinking that one would be sufficient, but our reading of the Plan Commission meeting minutes seems to suggest that more were required. Can you clarify how many racks were suggested? So basically, we replied back to him that I think the number of racks will depend on how many bikes you could fit on a rack and how many families you expect to come by bike at that time. If you're monitoring the bike parking situation, you can monitor the bike situation as well. If you'd like help choosing a bike rack, let us know. Our advisory committee can help you. Another email we got was from Rebecca, and I'm just going to leave it at that, on Grow Road because I will mispronounce her name. I'm a current resident of Grosse Ile. I grew up on Grosse Ile and currently raise 3 children ages 8, 12, and 15. I work during the day and my children get around during the day on their bicycles. The one place they spend a lot of time during the summer months is Water's Edge. When they ride there on their bikes, the only stretch I really worry about is from Meridian to the pool on Bellevue. It sounds safe because it cuts through the golf courses, but in actuality, cars drive really fast through there. The road is very narrow with barely anywhere for bikes. Since Water's Edge is our community pool, it makes sense that there should be a safe bike path for children to ride to the pool in the summer. And I think Rebecca brings up some very good comments about that, because I often think that Bellevue is very safe as well, but I do see cars going through there pretty quickly, and there is no place for the bikes to get over because the ditches are right up to the road. So our response to Rebecca was, thank you for your input. We share your concerns about Bellevue and have it on the radar. I especially appreciate your way of stating the needs rather than focus on the solution itself. We will be looking at needs as we move forward with non-motorized planning. I encourage you to stay involved via email, Facebook, our meetings, and other opportunities. Another letter from Denise on Canterbury. As an avid cyclist and triathlete, I want to write to just put my 2 cents in. In general, I think residents are pretty much cyclist friendly. You always get that one person who is not, but that's the same for runners too. Besides fixing the roads, which GI and Wayne County have no money to do, enforcing general guidelines to ride by is all that you can do. And then she made some comments. So please always ride with traffic, not against. Please, if you're riding over 10 miles per hour, ride on the main road, not on the bike path. And she mentions that her son was hit not too long ago riding leisurely on Macomb when a biker was going about 20 miles an hour around a corner. Ride single line on a main road, not side by side or in a group or triangle. If there's a pothole, sometimes it's unavoidable, but it should be at least to be encouraged. And then she wrote that she would love to see the roads fixed, but no, that won't happen. So at least to obey the biking laws and stay safe. So we have Al, one of our local police officers here, on here, and one of our goals is to provide education. That's one of our key commitments as this commission moving forward. So we wrote to her, "Hi Denise, I'm very sorry to hear about your son. I hope that he's okay. Collisions between fast-moving cyclists and slower-moving cyclists and pedestrians are definitely a problem. I share your concern about proper education campaigns. Moving forward, we will be addressing these as part of our non-motorized plan and working with schools. Education must be done for pedestrians, cyclists, motorists, and others. We will talk to the police about helping positively reinforce these measures. Feel free to comment back anytime." And another one we got was from Sue on Middleton Court. She talked to us about the possibility of a fitness trail on Horse Mill Bike Path. And she also sent this to the Rec Commission. And she attached a link here so we could see some of the things offered there. I've attached a link to a fitness trail station company to give you a general idea as to what they consist of. The Horse Mill Road Trail would be sufficiently enhanced if we were able to install 8 to 10 stations along the route. I would be delighted to attend the meeting, however, due to my work schedule, I won't be able to attend next week. Would you be kind enough to introduce the concept and follow up with me on further action? So I know that several of us on the commission have talked about that, and we think that that would possibly be a great idea, although it may be out of the scope of what we can do. I think it would be a great addition to the island. The other email that we got was from Ms. Schumann of the Grosse Ile Presbyterian. She's an elder. She wrote us, "Dear Bike Path Dedication Planning Committee, the Grosse Ile Presbyterian Church would like to be involved in this exciting and significant event. As an avid biker, I see that this as the beginning of a big thing to come. We would like to offer the church grounds and dedication and celebrate the church. The church is located at the end of the bike path. My group also suggests a lemonade stand with homemade lemonade and homemade cookies for everybody. Let us know how we can help with this." So that was very nice of the Grosse Ile Presbyterian Church to step up and make that offer. And I know that there's been discussion as to that as well. So do we have any comments we want to talk about right now about the letters?
Yeah, one of my friends was saying, after we finish, hello? Okay. After we finish the Horse Mill Path, maybe the next project it would be to go to a parkway. There are too many kids on strollers and little bikes, so maybe we can focus on going to a parkway.
Yeah, we as an organization need to look at what makes sense for the next steps. Unfortunately, we're out of funds for new bike paths at this time, so we'll have to figure out how we can get them and then where and how to utilize them best. But any other comments?
Well, me as a resident, I'm a resident. Start east of the island, I was biking by the bridge. I keep saying, please walk your bike. I think we should get rid of it because I see no reason why we should leave that sign, walk your bike on that safe bridge.
I believe that the reason the sign is there on the bridge, you're talking over here. Yeah.
Over there,
Yeah.
past the
Yeah.
airport.
Towards the end of the bike path on the south side. It's because
Near our house.
yeah, it is because the bridge is narrow. It's not the normal width for a bike path, and so previous commissions felt that because it wasn't I don't want to use the word legal size, but because it wasn't the normal standard width, that's why they did that. I think it was a way to protect the township from any liability as well. I could be wrong on that, but that was what I had heard.
Rob, if that is to protect against liability, is that something we need to look at for Horse Mill? Because that is also a narrow bridge crossing, right?
There was some talk early on about putting a sign at Horse Mill to
Good point.
suggest that, to make that our standard for the bridges. I don't know where that stands, actually. I guess that's probably a follow-up item that we need to look into.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, yes, sir.
the signs were put up on those bridges because the railings on the water side are rather low. Putting yourself up on a bicycle puts you up significantly higher And if you have an accident or an emergency, you're going to go swimming. So
Okay,
the advice
that
that was the advice for the signs.
Okay.
Good point. Thank you.
Thank you for that clarity, Wally.
We also have our city engineer, or township engineers to look at this and recommend signage.
Yeah, we need to make that a follow-up item for the new path because we've got a bridge to deal with over there for sure. Some old business, review of construction and maintenance fund balances. I know that we asked, Wally, do you have new fund balances?
No, and I asked for them, and so did Brian.
Yes.
The balances are not going to be much different than they were originally. There is probably a withdrawal for payment of part of the cost of the ongoing construction in Horsemill, but there's been no other significant expenditure. I'll ask Ann. I asked her to make it an automatic email to all of us, and she's probably forgotten it.
And Ann is whom?
She's the
Clerk?
Township Finance Director,
Okay.
Ann Darzniak. Those fund balances, or as a matter of fact, any township account is open to the public, and anyone can obtain a fund balance for any account by calling her. She may have forgotten to email it, but she will take a minute or two and find what you need. So if you're curious to know what they're spending in the Public Safety Department or the Roads Commission or whatever, she'll help you out with that. So it's not just us.
All right. Well, that's good to know. I'm glad you were able to share that with us. The Horse Mill Path, I know they've been making significant headway on that, and I saw that they will be wrapping up and starting some landscaping and cleanup in the very near future.
I spoke to Suhala this evening. They are a long way from where they were a month ago. And concrete for the approaches to the bridge will be tangled with probably next week, Monday. And there is some remediation and filling and contouring along the path that will take place next week. The only remaining portion of the project that will still remain open, probably past Labor Day, will be the sewer construction, and that's about 2 weeks out. So it'll happen after Labor Day.
And that sewer construction, that's going to be done at Park Lane and...
That's
and,
correct. That's at the east end of where the
Okay.
the horse mill path ends.
Based on where they're at and a guesstimation of completion date, I thought maybe we should talk about when we should look to have a ribbon cutting ceremony planned.
I might suggest to you that you should consider having that whenever it makes good sense to you. It doesn't have to be predicated upon the completion of the sewer project. You can dedicate that path right now. It would look nicer if we had all of the trim work done on it, but
Yeah.
I think by another week, you're going to see that the dirt will be in place, the lumps will be gone, and it'll look a lot more finished than it does now. So again, you want to make a suggestion or a date for?
Well, I was thinking, and I don't know what anybody's thinking, but in order to make this event, I mean, this is a little bit of history on the island here when we think about it, because it's not every day that we've expanded our bike paths and added to the recreation opportunities of this island. And I think it would be wise of us to make it as special of an event as we can. That being said, I know it's just a couple weeks before school gets started in here, and I know that a lot of people are trying to come and go on vacation, and then you got Labor Day and stuff. So I was actually thinking that maybe September 15th. I know that sounds like a long way away, but that's really only 4 weeks away. That would give us time to get our ducks in a row, organize things with Grosse Ile Presbyterian Church and other churches on the island. I think we should probably send out a letter asking them to invite their congregations to the event, and maybe even a letter to the schools and asking them to remind the families or school announcements or whatever when they started. And if we were able to do that and then pick a date, I don't know what date we would want. I was thinking that because it's a kind of a family event, that maybe we pick a Sunday early afternoon, and I think the 15th would make that date. So I'd like to hear from other people on the commission what they think of this, but if they think that that's a idea, because I think by then the sewer probably would be wrapped up, and that's probably where we would want to have the ceremony anyways, is down at that end if we're going to be coordinating this with the Presbyterian Church, because they've got parking and refreshments. So I think that would logistically make the most sense, but I guess the date and time, I would like to get input from you all to see what we think.
My only comment on that, again, is set it up early, well ahead of time, so that the logistics will take care of themselves. I don't care what day you do it.
I won't be able to make it that day, but following week I'm willing to roll my sleeves and do it. Right after my bike-a-thon, it'd be too much for me. The following Sunday, I'm yours.
So you're unavailable on the 15th, Jane?
I'll be way up there closing up my bike-a-thon.
Okay.
It'd be too much.
Are you then asking for the 22nd, the following Sunday?
I prefer the 22nd. Let me
I
double
think that would
check.
give adequate time for some landscaping to grow in and maybe some grass to grow in, and it may work to our advantage there.
That would give us a few weeks to get with the schools and the churches and everything to let them know and publicize this event.
Then, can we get a motion to set the date for the 22nd? You have a specific time?
I was just thinking if you did it sometime or after, most churches get out around 11:30 noon, so if we made it like 1 o'clock time frame, it wouldn't be too late. You get a lot of people that would just be coming back from church anyway, and early afternoon, if it's a nice day, they can enjoy the path.
The 15th of September, Sacred Hearts Parish Picnic is occurring at 11 o'clock, so the 15th probably wouldn't be a good idea.
So I believe Al suggested the 22nd.
Would it be too much of an inconvenience to ask for the 29th? I'll be coming back from out of state, so there's a good chance I might not make it. So if you could do the 29th, I'd appreciate that.
Whatever the commission wants to do. We wait too long, though, it'll be a snowshoe pass instead of like that.
Boy, you're looking for an early winter.
I'm open for any date. It doesn't matter to me.
So we have a motion for the 29th.
29th.
I second that.
Okay. Do we have a preference for time on the 29th?
The 1 is just fine, like after church.
So the 29th at 1 o'clock is when we'll like to
29th, 1 o'clock.
collect at the...
Do you think we should speak to the Presbyterian Church and see what their preference is?
Well, I know that they get out at 11:30-ish. Usually Phil is a little long-winded, so sometimes 11:45. So their parking lot would be emptying around 12, so that would probably work well for them.
1 o'clock then?
1 o'clock on the 29th is the motion. Can I get support for that?
I support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. I guess the follow-up items is who will draft a letter for the schools and who will draft a letter for the churches on the island to distribute.
Now, what would the letter be about?
About the grand opening of the bike path and the ribbon cutting ceremony and asking them to make an announcement at their church or their school and so that we could,
Okay.
That sounds very secretarial to me. So I'm just dropping hints.
Mr. Chairperson, I actually am already corresponding with the schools right now about the walk to school day in October. So it'd be very easy for me to talk to the schools about this as well.
All right.
So I might as well talk to the churches at the same time.
All right. Thank you.
What about were you going to develop a flyer, Jane?
was volunteering down there for
I
a
don't-
flag.
I'll do the flyer again.
Okay, thank you, Jane.
You're welcome.
All right.
You want me to post it in the newspaper like I did before and?
That'd be great, and maybe something we could post right here in the township offices or
Oh,
the
yeah,
safety
I can do
building too,
that.
so when people come in, you know, they
Okay,
would
I
see
will do
something.
like I did. I posted on the bike path, the stop sign this way. And do you want the video again, or?
I don't know, I think just an announcement of the dates and times and what it is, and I think it'll draw some attention.
Okay, forget the video
Yeah.
then.
Yeah, maybe add our, website or something on Facebook or something. I know Brian will take care of the
Okay,
Facebook
I'll do that.
for us so that we can tie this all together from a communications perspective.
Yeah, maybe we can get it on our cable as well, so just
That'd be a great idea, yeah.
Okay, I'll do that. I will work with Brian like
Okay.
I did before.
Okay. Brian,
Okay.
will you coordinate with Opportunity Grow Seal too? Because I know that they've got a different Facebook page that others follow, so.
Sure, love to.
Okay. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think we've beaten the horse mill path. Good enough. Maintenance projects, I know that we put a couple bids out for maintenance.
We've had a successful bidder,
Okay,
and
great.
that successful bidder has started the process of getting his bonds and insurances in place and satisfying our engineering group that he has the financial wherewithal to finish the project. Thought it would be done by now, probably will be done by the first of next week. At that time, a pre-construction kickoff meeting will take place, and I will attend that meeting.
Thank you.
No,
It will be at 7:00 a.m., whatever date. I can't, I work downtown like you do,
Yeah.
so.
When you find that out, could you send that out to the
Yep.
group? Wally, so in case any others wish to attend, they'll have the information. All right.
question, Wally, will it be done this fall or in the spring?
It'll all be done this fall.
Great, thank you.
I got a paintbrush for you, Jane.
Sure, I got leftover paint.
We need Jane standing out there prodding them on. That's what we need.
Cattle prod. All right.
Oh, I have my crack whip.
Whip. We did add some new business, an item discussing study sessions. Alan, I believe that was your new business discussion point.
I asked to add that to our agenda simply because we have so many areas of unfinished business, from maintenance of our bike path, from developing policies, developing a maintenance policy, and also a non-motorized policy, that I asked to add a study session scheduled to be determined every month, so we can start getting ahead of these projects.
No, I think that's wise.
I would ask that we schedule it in a little time every month, maybe our 2-week break between meetings, if we can meet. Schedule it for 2 hours. If we go short, then we go short on it, but plan for 2 hours just to at least get ahead of the projects, and then we can adjust it as needed.
So if I understand what your motion is you'd like to suggest that we have a study session monthly, 2 weeks on Tuesday night, 2 weeks from our normal meeting night, for 2 hours from 7 to 9, 6:30 to, I mean, what?
If that would be convenient for everybody that would attend, that's fine with me. I don't really have a preference on what time. I just know that we really need to schedule these study sessions so we can start attacking some of these projects we have.
You and I both have a conflict on one of those Tuesdays.
Next Tuesday, it would be 2 weeks from today.
Yeah.
So that would be a conflict?
Well, that's the first Tuesday of the month. No, I have a meeting on the first Tuesday of the month, and that's with open space.
I see.
And the second Tuesday of the month, I have a meeting with Knights of Columbus.
Knights of Columbus,
Third Tuesday of the month, I have Bike Path. Don't you look at my fourth Tuesday. I'd be more inclined, frankly, to have a meeting ahead of our regular meeting. But, you know, I'm game for getting here an hour ahead of time. And if we have a 2-hour meeting, it'll take us 2 hours to get things done. If you have a 1-hour meeting, you get the same things done in 1 hour. So,
Yeah. Spoken with experience, eh?
amen.
Yeah. Al, how do you envision that the study sessions work? Are we going to, tackle one of these topics each time? Are you thinking that everyone would come, or is this? I just kind of want to see what you're thinking about that, because we do have the subgroups, which, if a subgroup doesn't have, 4 people or more, then it's not a quorum. It's not a public meeting per se, and we might be able to get a lot of work done over there. So just wondering.
I would think that we would just prearrange what the topics will be, and the people involved would attend the meeting. And then if there's extra time after we've completed that task, maybe we can move on to a second or third task. So just because we don't have something scheduled for you to attend, or an uninvolved person to attend, would be to their advantage, because we could move on to their project if we had the time. And sometimes they interlace with each other, so it keeps everybody up to speed also. So to say that you wouldn't be needed at the meeting would be cutting ourselves short on this, simply because they all almost interlock with each other. So,
And if it is scheduled in advance, then we don't have a problem with Open Meetings Act about if we do have a quorum and decisions are going to be made that would be, informal decisions, I should say, because everything would have to come back to this commission for
Absolutely.
formal agreement.
it would be for study purposes only, and to give us direction where we want to go.
And would those meetings be televised, or would that be?
Study sessions are typically not televised.
Okay.
So I think we're all on the same page that we do want to schedule this. I would ask that we try to pin down one day that we could do this. Then, to me, it doesn't have to be a Tuesday. It just seems to be our pattern that Tuesday we meet. But I would think that it would have to be a Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, because with kids, everybody gets busy from Thursday through the weekend. Brian, is there a good day for you to meet? What is your best day of the week?
It really does vary. So
Okay.
I'll see what I can do.
Okay.
September is actually, like as I mentioned, the middle of September I'll be out. But other than that, I should have a lot more free time now that our SEMCOG meetings are done.
I would also think that these meetings won't start probably till late September into October, simply because the summer rush is still on, and we just can't fit this in.
So are you looking to start, well, we have maybe we should have our first meeting like the week before the ceremonial bike path on the 29th. That makes sense to schedule
22nd?
something just to make sure we have all our ducks in a row for the,
Actually, on the 29th?
have it like
Before?
a few days before, so we make sure we've got all our I's dotted, our T's crossed, and we haven't overlooked anything.
How about we take this as a group and individually go home and think about
Look at our
it,
calendars.
make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
And,
If everybody could conference via email.
Right back
Excuse
to
me.
Brian or you as to what's a good day.
Okay.
You know, let's just everybody make a commitment that this is the best day for me, or no way I'm doing this, or whatever you wish to say.
All right, it sounds like a good idea.
And my motion will be to approve meeting for study session with a to-be-determined date and time.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried. Another new business item that I mentioned was the fact that I needed to, or was asked at the last meeting to present my findings of the section of Grosse Ile that I was doing a walkability study on to find the things that could be problematic or have been nice to haves. I had a PowerPoint, but I left it at my desk, and I didn't have time to drive back to Detroit, so I'm going to be winging it. I will forward the PowerPoint to you all tomorrow. Basically, I live in the middle of the island, and that was the zone which I was asked to take a look at. Some things that I found that were pleasant surprises was the amount of construction that they've done in the last couple of years on Park Lane and Lowry to fix the roads so that it's much easier to walk, ride, roller skate, ride a bike without falling off the edge of the earth with those potholes that they've had and those big cracks. There's still a few areas. LaSalle Court off Park Lane is in rough shape, but it's a cul-de-sac and not very heavily trafficked, so that's good. Some areas that I thought maybe there should be improved signage would be on Ferry. There is no sign when you're heading towards the west, going towards the Ferry Trail to announce the trail. And that's kind of a blind spot for both pedestrians coming out of the trail and motorists. And so I could see where somebody could come whipping out on a bike or something and get hit because there is no signage there warning drivers about the trail. Now, most of us that live in the island, and especially in that area, know the Ferry Trail. But if you're new to the island or just driving through, so that would be one thing I would recommend is a sign there.
Mm-hmm.
Another area that I noticed was the bridge on Ferry. Needs a little repair. It's got concrete broken up, and you can see the rebar on some things. And but again, that'd be nice to have, not a must-have. I would put the sign definitely a higher priority. The walking bridge on Meridian between Ferry and Lowry. The thing I noticed about that is the bridge is in really good shape. However, with all the water that we've had, the rain this summer, the weeds have grown like crazy and have overtaken parts of the bridge. So it's going to be engulfed by weeds and vines here if it's not either sprayed or we get a frost soon. So that was an area that I felt that we probably need to add to our maintenance, make sure that gets addressed.
Are you speaking of the bridge that goes parallel to Meridian?
Yes.
Someone has already started, excuse me. Someone has already started taking vegetation down there. There's a good 150 feet of it on the west side of the bridge that's been taken right down to the ground. Last time that was done was when I was, 5 years ago. And it was done by John Keim of the DPS in easier times, if you will, financially. But he did a really good job, and I don't know who's doing it now, but I too share a love for that bridge. I was the guy who was standing there cutting the scissors when we opened that bridge. And so,
it's really nice.
It is a beautiful bridge, and it needs to be cleaned up, and it needs to be sprayed again with a water blast, not water blast, but pressure washed, and treated again, because that is really, really a long and beautiful wood bridge.
Yes, you get great views of the wildlife down below there.
Sure do.
So, outside of that, there were a few cracks in the bike path that were hardly worth mentioning compared to some of the other larger areas that we have problems with our bike path. But I'm sure they'll be addressed with our maintenance that we have, so I didn't really want to spend a lot of time on that. Most of the community that I walked in has no sidewalks, but I think that's, to the residents of that area, I don't think that's a big deal. The one area that obviously I think if there were going to be sidewalks put in would be Park Lane from Gray Road to Ferry, because that's quite a busy walkway and traffic patterns for people getting out of high school and driving. So that would be one area that I would think that if we were going to look at putting sidewalks in somewhere where there's close to the school and a busy area, that would be, you've got sidewalks on Park Lane from Gray down to Macomb, and Macomb has sidewalks, but from going north, there's nothing, so.
There has been a lot of discussion about that over the course of the last 20 years. People don't want sidewalks in some of those places, and they're the local residents. So I guess what I'm saying is that if you find a spot like that, realize that you're going to have to touch the local populace, because they have to okay it.
No, I agree with that. I just, if there was a section of that area that sidewalks would be
I think change nowadays, people are more health conscious, so they might change, and there could be new owners too.
Yes, true. So that was the one area I thought that there was a lot of pedestrian traffic and with the traffic, those kids, when they come out of high school, Al can attest.
One of our big changes, and everybody's aware of this, is that as the budget's changed, the busing changed, and now we have walk zones. That used to be an area where a bus would transport the kids, and now they're walking. And I think we've got to make a strong consideration for that in our non-motorized plan, that within these walking zones, they should have preference on these considerations for sidewalks, simply because the demographics demand it.
Mm-hmm. I know of some people that live in that area too, and I'll reiterate what Wally had said about people not wanting sidewalks in that area. I'm not saying that everyone is that way, but there is a very vocal group that doesn't want it. But I, since this is one of my friends, I tried to explain to them that, well, rather than looking at sidewalks and being upset about that, do you understand that there is a concern about safety? And she understood about that. And the more we talked, the more she was frustrated about the actual width of Park Lane and about people speeding through there and stuff. And I said, so, your problem has to do with more about traffic calming than about the sidewalks per se. And she said, well, yeah. So, and I thought, well, what about, if you have on-lane facilities or, something of that nature, do some traffic calming? So, that'd be a little bit different. So I'm not trying to promote a specific solution here, just, give a little anecdotal story about, the need to talk more with these residents to see what are their issues and figure out a win-win solution. About the bridge on the Ferry Trail, I'm not sure which weeds are coming up, but they might be invasive Phragmites. If so, there's, I know that the Groseal Nature Conservancy, as well as the Wildlife Refuge and a lot of other organizations are looking to try and get rid of those because they're so invasive, and they're a significant problem for both water travel as well as for water habitats. But the trouble that comes in as far as spraying is that you can't spray above the high water mark without specific permits. So maybe we should be talking with other people to see what they might know about that before we go spraying. But the other thing of concern was the Ferry Trail, and I don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure it's more of an informal trail as opposed to a township-owned one.
I believe it is.
So we definitely have to tread carefully on how we go about putting in signs to let people know about it, but yet not at the same time formally acknowledging it if that's not our intention.
Yeah.
Because once we formally acknowledge it, there's other things that we're going to have to do.
just a simple pedestrian crossing sign or something there, just to acknowledge that there's pedestrians that come. Because like I said, when you're driving down there, it comes up. People can come out of there pretty quick, and you can't see them until they're right on the road, the shoulder of the road right there.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
So those were the added items for new business. Discussing the meeting time and the start time. We know not to start before 7:30, and Brian, we did correct the meeting minutes on that.
Okay.
Before you got here. And last time when we did start it at 7:30, the TV crew wasn't present. We weren't sure what was the deal. Unfortunately, they had none of our numbers to call us to let us know that they were stuck in traffic. So that's why we started without them last time. And we did ask that they get contact information for us so that didn't take place again. So.
Just as a matter of understanding, once a year we have a schedule of meetings for every commission and every committee, and at those meetings we commit as to which meetings we will televise. So the last meeting, Township Board annual meeting, I believe, we committed to televising every one of our. So it's up to the folks to be here, and I think that it makes sense if we wait for them for a little bit, and they have phone numbers to contact us, as well as Ted, who can also contact us. So let's just presume we will be televised, and it's something that is optional, gentlemen and ladies, not mandatory. But since we have committed to this year doing it, let's continue that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're talking of subgroups. No TV, but subgroups.
So that's a study session. No sub, does not need to be televised.
Okay.
It has to be an open door, but not televised. It has to be pre-announced.
Yeah. I agree with Wally, and when we were setting up this commission, that was one of our main ideas, is to make sure that we did the most to be transparent and have public participation. So if there is a chance that, I don't think this would be happening very much to begin with, but if there's another time where the video crew is late for reasons obviously beyond their control, whether it's what the bridge was open, but I think that hopefully we can wait 10 or 15 minutes if need be to at least try and reach out to them and make every effort to try and err on the side of greater transparency.
If we make a decision as a commission to not televise for any reason, and there is no one here, I'll take the message.
All right. I'd like to make that a motion.
Does anyone feel like we need to make a motion on this?
No, I think that's just standard discussion.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Subgroups, Brian, you created a list of the different types of subgroups we had and put in some folks to each of the subgroups that I believe had already volunteered for those areas. Did everybody get a chance to look at that listing?
The subgroups are going to be impacted by the resignation. I think you realize that.
Yes.
So
So we'll have to readjust these a little bit.
Yeah, and that was just a draft list, so if there was other subgroups that we might need, or if you had interest in being on another one or wanted to trade one out or something, I didn't envision this in stone at all. Just another way of getting the ball rolling to make sure that we're getting the work done that we need to.
I think that everyone on this commission needs to know that if they have an interest or they have a subject that they wish to discuss, all they need to do is contact the chairperson. Chairperson puts out an agenda several days in advance of a meeting typically. You can get on the agenda as a new discussion item, or you can bring up old business, but make sure you contact Brian when you're putting when you're putting your thoughts together so that he can make a special spot on the agenda for you. Nobody wants to be shut out. Nobody wants to be seemingly rushed because there's a big load on this. This is supposed to be fun for us, and it is going to be fun for us. You still have the fastest running township commission in the city, so let's keep it going that way, guys, ladies.
All right. So Brian, I guess the action point for that would be to look over these groups, make sure that we have the right groups, and if we want to be on different groups to reach out to you on that.
Correct.
Okay. One thing that was sent to us, and I should have added this for new business, was, our commission is for bicycle and pedestrians. I just want to make a note to all the residents out there in Grosse Ile that the garage sale, the annual garage sale, is this weekend on the 23rd and 24th. And what that translates to me is we're going to have lots of people on the island parking where they don't normally park cars, getting out and crossing streets, and so there'll be a lot of pedestrian traffic that we have in areas that we're not used to seeing. And so I just want to make sure that we caution ourselves as we drive, ride, and walk to be aware of our surroundings, because I'd hate for something to happen with somebody on that. With that said, we're into the reports and closing. So Wally, I believe you have a report to give.
Several short items. Number one, I've called on our Grosse Ile Outdoors partners, the Grosse Ile Nature and Land Conservancy, Grosse Ile Open Space Committee, and our committee are really dedicated to taking care of things outdoors in relationship also with the Grosse Ile Recreation Department. I have talked, I think, at every meeting about making sure that these four groups are represented and talked about as being a common general goal, and that's to promote things outdoors. And everything we do is outdoors in all of these committees. So feel free to touch base with people in other commissions and in the rec department. There's a wealth of knowledge in this group. A little bit of bragging rights for us in the Grosse Ile Open Space committee, we have a new member, and her name is Bert Urbani. Bert has been around for 30-some years in Detroit Edison working in the environmental field, and she's a very energetic lady that is retiring and looking for something to do, and we're going to keep her busy. So I want to welcome Bert myself. Thank you for volunteering to serve on that commission. You will be touched by others in our commission and for your expertise. Another thing here, on August 25th, it marks the 19th anniversary of who I consider to be the father of the Grosio Bike Path Commission, and his name is John Neidhart. John was a former township trustee, a wonderful guy who had a lot of foresight and had a lot to do with getting the beginnings of our bike path together. I bet he's smiling down at us right now for what we've gotten done as a community. And the last item I'd like to tell you is that Mr. Michael Sullivan of Church Street has donated the first bench for our Horse Mill bike path. He has donated 2 benches. If you'd like to see what they look like, they are down at the Sacred Heart Waters Landing, and it's the standard bench that we've seen all over the islands, and they are there. So take a look. As soon as we get in place, bench number 1 will be coming from Michael and his sister. Thank you, Michael. End of my report.
Brian, do you want to give the chairperson's report?
I can hit a couple notes, but Mr. Chair, you are the acting chair tonight, so I don't want to rob you of that either. So all I'll make mention is that Aaron and I participated in an interview with Metro Mode, which is an online newspaper, where they were doing some follow-up about safe routes to school. And the article went favorably, and if you want more information on that, I have included the URL link to that, and I'll put that up on our website as well. Secondly, just some SEMCOG stuff. That's why I was a little bit late here tonight. It was coming from our public outreach meetings. We've actually done 8 total within the last month, as well as we've been doing some green infrastructure meetings, which touches on trails and recreation as well. So my wife hasn't been too happy with the amount of time I've been spending away. Just kidding, though. She's very understanding about it.
Just kidding, dear.
But
He's angling for
anyways,
dinner today.
I wanted to let people be. Sorry, I didn't hear. I just want to let people know that there is a regional non-motorized plan going on for the 7-county area, and if they're interested, they can go to the SEMCOG's webpage to find out more information. We have a planned website where we're having a link to an online survey that people can take about their bicycle preferences, as well as participate with a virtual workshop. So if they weren't able to come out to our meetings that we had at various locations, they can download maps and provide comments directly to SEMCOG staff. The last thing I just want to make mention of is that the Michigan Department of Transportation is going to be doing walkability audits in our region, and they will be in New Hudson, which is in Oakland County, as well as Dearborn, and that's on September 10th and September 11th. I don't know the time yet. I'll get back to you guys on that information, but if you haven't been out to one, they're very informative, and it gives you a little bit more of best practices and principles, as well as learning what some of our fellow communities are doing as far as bicycle and pedestrian travel. So with that, I'll hand it over to you, Mr. Chair.
All right. Well, my report is going to be very simple. One, I'm very excited about the new addition that we're putting into the bike path here. And I've been doing some research on benches. Actually, by accident, when I was on vacation, I went golfing, and several of the places when I went golfing at several of these places, they had benches that were made of plastic or fiberglass that had, instead of plaques, they were actually engraved by some kind of a machine, and they were sponsored benches like McLaren Health or something like that. They looked really clean, really neat, and you wouldn't have to worry about the signage being broken or anything on it. So I did reach out to a couple of the golf courses that they had them at, and they were going to get me the information for that so that we could share that. And I know one of the things that we've been getting discussions on is the benches often when they're mowing get moved, and I'm thinking that maybe instead of just another opportunity for people who want to donate or make a difference for the bike path and pedestrians, instead of a bench or a water fountain, maybe we start to design landing pads for the benches. And maybe, you know, at the University of Michigan, they've got the bricks that you buy and has your name on them, and maybe we could do something like that as a fundraiser for 6 by 8 sections for where the bench would set with people's names on bricks and sell those for, I don't know, $20 or whatever is a way to do something different. But I was thinking that would be another way that we could take care of a problem that we have and make it a nice way to do it, you know. So just food for thought. So, any other comments from board members?
I was kind of thinking about the fitness thing. I'm thinking fundraising idea already. I'm jotting notes.
Yeah, I think that was a great idea, and I think that'll probably fall more within the rec department, but I think that could be a cooperative event or activity between both groups.
Okay.
And open space.
And open space, yes, for depending on where they decide to put it, yes. Any other thoughts or comments?
Did anyone have a chance to read my email where I talked about what's going on in Trenton about the horse mill path? I mean, not horse mill path, the Jefferson path.
Yeah.
I did, and I went to
Yeah.
that link, and it opened up to a whole world of stuff that I got lost trying to figure out where to follow the linkages. But yeah, that was exciting news, Brian. For those that are watching, why don't you share
Sure.
a little more detail?
The City of Trenton, along with the Downriver Linked Greenways Initiative, SEMCOG, DTE, and the Detroit International Wildlife Refuge have been working together on connecting the wildlife refuge up to Elizabeth Park along Jefferson. So they've been looking at various planning grants for that, and they're moving ahead, but they found a new one, and I'm forgetting the acronym at the moment, but essentially it's FLAP, Federal Land Access Program. And so it seems like that might have a higher limit on the amount of money that they can ask for, and it might provide some of the match for some of the other grants that they've been trying to apply for. So since I wear two hats, working at SEMCOG as well as being on this commission here, I mentioned again about how we have interest in connecting with the bridge, and asked if there's any way that there could be an extension of that from Jefferson at least up to the bridge itself in the Trenton portion. And the idea was looked upon favorably, but they were wondering about the costs. So we were asked if there's a way that we could find, a back of the envelope cost for developing that, and it kind of be a way of Groseal participating with Trenton and being part of this larger group. So if we can just talk to either township staff or our engineering consultant just to ask, I don't envision this taking any time or anything, just basically taking an average of what it costs to develop the paths on Groseal as well as some of the other downriver linked greenways paths, taking an average cost for the per mile, and then taking the distance that would take to connect it from Jefferson to the bridge, and then just giving that as a general ballpark number to see if it was something that can we move forward on. But I didn't want to do that unilaterally. I wanted to bring it to the commission to see what they thought about it before I talk with township staff or with Rains.
That's old news. That's been discussed for 15 years now, and with very, very little headway for 15 years. We had a lot of work done trying to figure out a way to run a bike path from Meridian somehow down Groseal Parkway to the bridge and then cross over and go that way. This was occurring at the time when the bridge was being rebuilt. We attempted to get Wayne County to put a cantilever bridge on the outside of it so that bikes could freely travel and be shielded from possibly falling off. And I don't want to bore you with details, but we always run into dead ends when we get across the bridge leaving Groseal. So go for it, but go for it with keep the bar high, or keep the bar low if you want
Yeah.
to get it. I'm trying to be obtuse about it, not obtuse about it.
Understood.
I think that's great, especially if they're getting the funding to go up Jefferson anyways. You know, it's only, what, probably 2/3 of a mile to come from the bridge to there, so that's, I mean, even if they didn't do that, but if we could help them get that last section there, that would give us both a gateway to the mainland, and the mainlanders a gateway to our lovely island. So
Mhm.
that'd
I'd be glad to spend detailed time off camera telling you some of the things that we ran into.
Sure.
So I think what you were saying is you need to talk to either township or the engineering to get a ballpark number to
Yeah.
throw back to them.
Exactly. So does anyone have any reluctance for me to do that? Or, you know, if I don't want to be a hog either, if somebody else has an interest in that,
Well-
then they can, you know, correspond as well.
I'm just thinking the bike path that we're just having completed right now, we've got broke down into like larger sections. You got your sewage costs, and then you got your maintenance of or the path development. I would say that, you know, we take just the path development and then figure out the difference in length between that and what would need to be down there, and that'd be a good, you know, ballpark number to give them.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I think from Thoroughfare back to Meridian, that was a cost that we had broke down separately, right? Originally?
I don't remember the cost offhand. I just know that there was significant drainage work that we had to do on that, so that's why I figured taking an average from multiple different projects, it would kind of flush it out and maybe give us a little bit more realistic number for that, because it's pretty flat over there.
Yeah, I think you're not gonna have any problems with drainage or that. I agree, Brian, but those other ones were done some time ago, so I would think that you'd have to factor in some kind of inflation rate and stuff like
Oh,
that.
yeah. And that's why I was saying, look outside of Groseal itself, you know, with the paths that have been put in, and Flat Rock and
They
Gibraltar.
just did theirs 2 years ago or whatever, so that would be a very, and it would probably the same as far as their drainage and stuff, so that would probably be a good ballpark to grab
And
if you
and
could
I'm
get.
pretty sure that C.E. Rains was the consultant on those as well.
So I guess you answered your own question, that's where you need to go, right?
Mhm. I just want to make sure that I have, you know, consent from this commission, because we are a team. I don't ever want to do anything unilaterally.
I think that's a great idea that you,
Let me just tell you that you're not doing anything unilaterally when you're doing individual work. It's, you know, it's up to us to bring us up to speed at this meeting and outside of it. But don't ever let that discourage you from doing something without getting permission from 6 other people first, especially when it comes to just looking.
Mhm.
You're allowed to look here.
Thank you.
any other comments or items to discuss?
Well, Riley, are they planning to repave that road at all? West of the Groseal Bridge? Riley?
I'm sorry, please repeat.
Are they planning to repave the road at all west of the Groseal Bridge?
No immediate plans.
The intersection at Jefferson and Groseal Parkway is scheduled for maintenance down to Van Horn the spring of next year.
Mm-hmm.
So that intersection will be improved. I don't know what improvements will be made outside of the core of the road, but they are planning on redoing that intersection there, that bag corner, all the way down to Van Horn in that intersection also.
Mm-hmm.
That has been rescheduled since 2004. All right? So don't hold your breath while you're waiting for the asphalt trucks.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see it happening, but it's always been on somebody's plan.
Keep our fingers crossed. Or maybe if you have enough public, maybe we can encourage the public to write a letter to whoever, and if there's enough votes from the community, maybe they can figure it out.
That is within the purview of the Groseal Public Service Commission, and trust me, they've done everything but walk down there with a stick to Wayne County, and there's no money. You know, you can't get blood from a turnip.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
I do have one question. Would the path be, and this I mean, this might not even be desired for in the future. I don't know if it's needed. Do you envision it being on the side where the marina is or the side where DTE is?
We didn't know for sure, but, and I say we, I was speaking with Anita Tordesky of Downriver Linked Greenways. And we just thought that it might be less resistance as well as possibly greater funding if we went on the south side of the road. That way you're on DTE property, and that they've wanted to be good stewards, and they're championing this as well. So we thought maybe we could get some more traction with that side. But I would think that hopefully in the future, depending on how much use this is, you might entertain the other notion as well. But on the other side, we're dealing with Wayne County Parks, and they're springing the money for the connection along Jefferson from Groseal Parkway down to where West Jefferson bends. So, and plus they've been doing a lot of work on the pedestrian bridges over the canals. So I'm not sure if they have enough money to be working on that right now.
Right. I'm just wondering if it would go in on the DTE side, if that would change your estimates. I don't know if the path would have to be made more robust, because a lot of trucks would cross it. And
One of the people that has a great deal of history on that is John Delphi. Mr. Delphi worked on that quite extensively when he was in his tenure on the Public Service Commission, which was a combination of Roads Committee and Public Works. But I understand your impression that putting it on the south side makes it a straight line and easier to engineer and all that. But putting it on the north side takes advantage of putting that path right through Elizabeth Park.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a very scenic addition, and that's what, frankly, they were looking at.
Okay.
So they would connect our bridge by a path that would come in down where the old A&W was, and then run through the park, and then go through the marina section and come in there.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, they're all great dreams, and they all have advantages and disadvantages, and they're all on paper, and nothing's in asphalt, so.
Yeah.
They used to say that about our bike paths too, but we've put some things off the paper and made asphalt. So. Anyways, any other comments before we close tonight?
Motion to adjourn.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
8:35.
Thank you.